start?
Yeah, let's get started here.
Okay.
And
The other picture? Okay.
this one.
Microphone.
Oh, jeez. Yes, already plugged in. There it is. Okay.
Let us begin our metta. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hatred or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desires for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. These are the words we have to remember when practice metta. Now focus our mind on our breathing. Notice inhaling as inhaling, exhaling as exhaling. When inhaling, you notice the breath touching the nostrils, reaching the lungs area, and expanding lungs, that area, and expanding lower abdominal area. As we breathe out, lower abdomen contracts, chest area contracts, the breath leaves our nostrils. These are three things that happen always when we breathe in and out. Then we notice the breath is changing, rising and falling, feeling rising and falling, perception rising and falling, thoughts rising and falling, consciousness rises and falls. All these rise and fall constantly. And that is a very important thing to remember, to pay our attention. Everything else come to play in turn when we develop this. As we let go of all this, coming and going, our desire to hold on to anything subside. Then the mind being very relaxed and relatively calm and peaceful, metta thought or feeling rises because there is no rigidity or uptightness. And then along with that compassion arises, then our restlessness and worry fade away. Then we get more energetic, then sleepiness and drowsiness fade away. And then we get confident. We build up our understanding through this experience. Confidence arises. Then arises joy. Joyful state leads to tranquility, pasad, and pasad leads to happiness, which leads in turn to concentration. When we gain concentration, we can see the subtlest changes taking place in our body, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness. We don't focus our mind on anything outside other than what is happening inside to us every moment. With this, we continue our practice. Dukkha patta cha nidukkha, bhaya patta cha nibbhaya, soka patta cha nisoka, hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. Keeping this metta wish in mind, try to understand the answers to this question that Brian will read for me.
Okay. Dear Bhante, could you please explain how to overcome Sakaya Ditthi?
Sakkaya Ditthi, I think I mention it almost every day. You first, I say it so quickly, it is not, it may not register in people's minds because the time I spend to mention this is very short. Sakkaya Ditthi is the belief that there is a permanent self in our body or feelings, perceptions, thoughts, or consciousness. Any one of them or in all of them, they think that there is some permanent entity. In order to understand this, we have to look at them impartially to see each and every one of them constantly changing, rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling all the time. Until you see this Dhamma, this truth, very clearly in your own body, feelings, perceptions, thoughts and consciousness, it is not possible to get rid of Sakkaya Ditthi. It does not happen very quickly, even though we have stories in the Buddhist literature that some individuals attain stream entry by overcoming Sakkaya Ditthi. They happen very quickly. They are not monastics or living in monastery or renounced life. Some of them were even lay people like Upali, Visakha, and many. Even when Sariputta and Moggallana as lay people, they were called Upatisha. By listening to the Dhamma, they immediately, it is just like electric current running through their body very quickly. Insight arose and they saw that self is just vanishing. The notion of self, the belief of such a permanent thing. That happened to some individuals because of their previous practice, previous to that moment in this very life perhaps, previous to their previous to this life. In this life, Many times, probably you yourself might have noticed, things are appearing and disappearing very quickly in your mind and body. You might have noticed it. If you cultivate that flash of insight repeatedly again and again, it is possible for you to overcome your Sakkaya Ditthi in this very life. All you have to do is to see impermanence. Impermanence, as I mentioned, is not just a word. It is an event, an action that is always there for us to notice. Whatever, we must be very sharp to understand how quickly things arise in us and pass away. And that is how you can overcome Sakkaya Ditthi. We have to see impermanence. Keep repeating this word, seeing impermanence. Not the word repeating impermanence, but you must see within yourself. Don't think that you have to leave home or go to a monastery, observe the precepts and wait for full moon day or new moon day, or wait for a very quiet, suitable place to meditate, go into a forest to a quiet place, and all these requirements you don't need to see impermanence. All you need is to pay attention to your own body and mind. Where you are, wherever you go, there you are. That is, you are in, your thought is there. And all you have to do is to pay attention to it impartially. Notion of self is a convention. Of course, we have to use the word I, you, he, she, and so forth in order to communicate. To that extent, it is true, and that is always is the case. If you deeply think, even out of this kind of training, you will see in the world, almost everything is named, conventionally agreed to use. People make some kind of things in science laboratory, and they come up with a name, and for that name there is something to represent the name. But for self, even though we use the word, there is nothing to represent. Another example is conventional. Today is Friday. Very often I use this simile. Today is Friday. Have you seen Friday? Have you smelled Friday? Have you touched Friday? So you cannot do anything with Friday. But we use the word Friday for making our schedules, calendars, our work, and to make our priority list. On Friday I do such and such, Saturday such and so forth. In order to make your schedule, you use this particular name called Friday. Sunday, Monday, and all these are like that. So, similarly we use the word, even though we don't see I, we don't hear I, we don't find I, but we use it conventionally. Therefore, in order to take this, to have this understanding very clear, you keep watching your own body, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, and consciousness. Then you will see the notion of Sat Kaya Ditti, the view that there is self, will vanish. I think that is the answer to your question. If you ask me, if somebody else asks me this question, I will give you the same answer. And so Buddha has very clearly, when I like you to read the Anatta Lakkana Sutta, the characteristic of selflessness discourse delivered just after the first sermon. First sermon is Dhamma Chakka Pavattana Sutta. After delivering that, only Venerable Kondanya attained the stream entry. Other four ascetics did not attain any stage of enlightenment, and therefore next day he gave, or next sermon, he gave to all these five ascetics, including Venerable Kondanya, who has already attained the stream entry by overcoming the notion of self. When he delivered the second sermon on the non-existence of self or characteristics of non-self, then all of them attained to not only stream entry, but attain full enlightenment. Therefore, even those ascetics who have been practicing meditation, asceticism with the Buddha, with Siddhartha Bodhisattva, could not grasp the meaning of it at once. It took some time even for them to gain this knowledge and vision. So I mention these things for you not to get discouraged, but to have confidence in the teaching, in the practice, so you yourself will have a chance to attain it in this very life. The next question.
Thank you, Bhante. The next question is, if in the context of desire or craving being the cause of dukkha, what to do if a food is both nutritious, so good for the upkeep of our body, warding off diseases, longevity, but we also desire that food, that we experience desire there as well.
We desire to select food that brings nourishment to the body.
Well, if the food, this particular food, let's say it's kale, I don't know, kale or something.
Yeah.
So the kale, we already know that it's nutritious, that it's good for our body.
Mm-hmm.
And kale's not a good example, but blueberries are a good example. If we know the blueberries are very nutritious and healthy for our body, but we also crave blueberries, we also desire, we enjoy blueberries. How do we work with balancing that, I guess?
Okay. We all know that we consume food in order to maintain the body. And also we use the food as medicine. So if one particular thing is lacking in the body, it is necessary to take something to replace that, so introduce that. And therefore, it is not, we have to take it as a medicine. This body needs to be maintained, and if the body needs this kind of things, then when it is available, we take it. Now, we Buddha did not explain all these nitty-gritty details in everything. So we have to understand the reason why we consume food. So, and another thing is, in the Buddha's time, I don't think they talk about protein, vitamin, mineral, and so forth and so forth. And in food, whatever food they ate, in that food, all of them are present. Only nowadays we talk about individual component or property of food, and what property in the food would do what it does to the body, and so forth. All these details we know nowadays, and therefore I would not personally worry about them if certain food is building up or replacing our losing a certain part in the body. We take it as a medicine, not because of our particular desire or greed. We know while eating this food is impermanent, the body that consumes the food also is impermanent. The food is made up of 4 elements. The body also is made up of 4 elements. So, like that, we meditate on it, and especially these kind of things are important for the monastics, because they uh, depend on people. But when lay people, they buy various grocery items when they go to go shopping, and they can select what is needed for their survival. And out of that, if they give certain things to the monastic also might take it. For instance, certain person knows all about food hygiene, food, what do you call, he's a nutritionist.
Nutritionist?
Nutritionist, yeah?
Yeah.
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 If he is such a person, then he knows all about it, and he selects certain food, or he or she, and when monk or nun goes on alms round, they think this would be good for the monks, and they will offer it, and they will take and eat. So they themselves are not going to choose what kind of food they should eat, and also they are not supposed to demand people for this and that, and therefore whatever they receive they eat. If they can don't have any health problem, they eat. Okay?
So what I'm hearing is for the at least for the desire portion, that we just go back to the basics and contemplate the impermanence of that food and sort of the impermanence or the emptiness of
Yes.
that food that we desire.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah.
Let's see. How are the 10 qualities as accomplished in what is wholesome mentioned by the Buddha in Samanamandika Sutta linked to the 10 fetters you explained in your talk yesterday? Does it only apply to unskillful practices?
I had to look at these 10 points in Samana Mandika Sutta.
Uh-huh.
I have mentioned Samana Mandika Sutta as an example where you find the word, what do you call, akusala sila, and other uh, things in that discourse I don't remember, but akusala sila is part of sila, vata, paramasa. Paramasa means clinging to these unskillful habits. And that is what we have to understand and get rid of it, not to get involved in unwholesome habits. And believing that by following those unwholesome habits that they can attain liberation. So with that belief, if somebody practices unwholesome things, that habit, that belief should not help the person to liberate oneself from samsara. And therefore, that which does not work for anybody to attain liberation should not be practiced, and one should not attach to that particular thing which is unskillful. And that's what it means. Yes. Next question.
Next question. Thank you, Bhante.
Mm-hmm.
Could you please explain out of the 10 fetters which ones will disappear permanently in each stage of Nibbana?
Okay. The Satkaya Ditthi Vichikicca Sila Bhata Paramasa,
That's the first three?
First three will be permanently destroyed when one attains the stream entry. When one attains the never eternal state, both greed and hatred will disappear from the mind. And in second level, or one's eternal stage, one does not destroy any new fetter, but they weaken them, weaken greed and hatred. That's all one does when one attains the second level of enlightenment. In the first level, they destroy 3 fetters. They destroy it without leaving anything behind. When one attains the third level, greed and hatred will completely destroy it. And remaining 5 stay until one attains arahanthood. Yeah. And then on the path to attainment of arahanthood, one would destroy one by one of the remaining 5 fetters.
Okay, thank you, Bhante. It would be great if you could elaborate on the 4 wrong view Sakya Diti for each aggregate. I think they were mentioned before, but they still seem a bit hard to understand to me.
Okay.
Is knowing these of any significance to the practice, in your opinion? And what is the difference between Sanyojana and Kilesa?
Okay. That's a very big question. A lot of things are in there. Sanyojana and Kilesa are exactly the same. whatever kilesa you have, that falls into one or the other of these 10 sanyojanas. Sanyojana means binding. Tomorrow I will explain the meaning of sanyojana even more clearly. But for now, remember, sanyojana is binding, holding. That is sanyojana. Whatever is binding, it is a kilesa. And 4 ways of dealing with Sakkaya Ditthi. If I mention one, and you remember that one of the 5 aggregates. One of the 5 aggregates, let us say form. Form is made up of 4 elements: earth, water, air, fire. And this form, people who have the notion of the self, who believe that there is self, Buddha said they believe it in 4 ways. What are the 4 ways? That person thinks, man or woman thinks, the form and self are identical. Rupang attato samanupassati. Rupang attato samanupassati. Form and self are identical. Number 1. Number 2, rupavantang vattanam. The self has form in it. So for you to see, that is, when you have form, you can see it. So this is the second way. That is rupavantang vattanam. The self has a kind of form. Third way is attaniva rupam. The form is inside the self. Form is inside the self. Fourth way is self is inside the form. Attaniva rupavantang vattanam. Rupang attato samanupassati. Rupavantang vattanam. Attaniva rupang rupasming vattanam. Fourth way is the self is inside the form. Now let me repeat these 4. First, one thinks form and self are identical. Second, self has a form to see, touch and visible. And the third way is form is inside the self. Fourth way is self is inside the form. Okay, these are the 4 ways. When you remember these 4, you can apply these 4 to the remaining 4 aggregates. Feeling, for instance, feeling and the self are identical. Self is with feeling. Self is in the feeling, and feeling is in the self. These are 4. Same way goes with the perception, thought and consciousness. So when you multiply these 5 with these 4, you multiply, then you get 20. This is how you will have 20 types of notions of self. Okay. So, I think this is enough. I don't think there are any other questions.
Nope.
Oh, there's a trio.
I think that was just the
Yes.
The stream entry trio.
Stream entry. But this trio, I think I mentioned another trio. Could you please name the trio and explain them? The trio I mentioned in the Samma Ditti, in the Noble Eightfold Path, there are three cardinal factors. Those three are very important to remember. What are the three cardinal factors? Right understanding, Sammaditthi. Sammaditthi comes always first. Sammaditthi. Then Sammavayama. Sammavayama, that is right effort. And then Sammasati, right mindfulness. Right understanding, right effort, and right mindfulness. These are the three cardinal, most important factors in the Noble Eightfold Path. I think this may be the trio perhaps you might meant, you might be thinking. So that is how they are.
Bhante, where can we find that, the trio?
Or you can find it in Maha Chattarisaka Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya.
Okay.
Grade 40.
Grade 40.
Grade 40.
Okay, thank you.
And if you like, I can explain grade 40 another day at another discourse. For now, these three you find very clearly mentioned in the Maha Chattarisaka Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. Grade 40. And with this, I like to end this morning's session. With wishing all those who, as I mentioned every day, those who are in those patients who are suffering from COVID-19, and may they recover very quickly and live long in good health. And there are some others, some of them are our friends. They have lost their relatives, and we want to wish them to be free from grief. I heard last week one lady passed away, and this week her husband passed away. So this is how it happens. So we know that there are many people who have lost their loved ones, and we want to, they may still be grieving. We want to wish them to be free from grief and live long in good health. And there are many doctors, nurses, and hospital staffs helping many patients, not only COVID-19 patients and others as well. And may they continue their very wonderful, compassionate service, and without themselves getting affected by this COVID-19, live long in good health to continue their service. There are leaders who are doing very wonderful job. May they continue that so that they will serve the world. And there are some other leaders who are still trying. I hope one day they will learn to make right, wise decision to help the world. There are many people who are very generously supporting all these projects, all these places, and may they continue their generosity and with metta and compassion. With this earnest wish, I want to end this morning session and thank you for participating in it.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante and
Thank
Brian.
you,
Thank you.
Brian.
Thank
Sadhu, sadhu,
you.
sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you,
Thank you, Brian.
Sadhu.
Everyone, Saranai.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Yeah, teachers don't
everyone.
know.
Saranai.
Way better.
So you could hear today better?
Everyone, Saranai.
Yeah?
Today
Ah,
was
yeah.
very good. Very good
She
song.
said. She said
Thank you,
from Sri Lanka it
Bhante.
is good.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Bhante.
everyone have a
Thank you,
nice
Brian.
day.
Thank you,
Bye.
Bhante.
See you tomorrow.
Momo.
Okay, see you tomorrow.
Yes.
See you, Brian.